If you're working in your agency solely on projects, so you have the types of clients that have bigger budgets allocated for larger long-term projects, then this episode is for you because you will start to feel burnt out. I will explain why and where this came from. But I had a discussion recently with an agency owner who had never used the retainer model, not once in over 10 years of running her agency. She has a partner, and their entire agency is built on multi-year high-value projects, which is awesome, right? I mean, big budgets, big clients, being able to kind of project out into the future, how long you're going to be working on something and what goes into it. But now, 10 years in, they're really feeling this strain. They have this over-reliance on a handful of big clients and a lot of customer concentration, which is a big concern because if you have one of these projects where the budget gets cut unexpectedly, or you lose one of these bigger clients, then you are always at risk of having unpredictable income, things just kind of taking over your revenue projections that, are kind of out of your control. And they also feel this pressure to lead every project personally. And the challenge for them is also when they have smaller client opportunities that don't have these big, huge project budgets, and they're not able to figure out how to service these kinds of clients. So they're having to turn work away because they're only familiar and comfortable with the project model. And they end up having to kind of reinvent the wheel every single time because they're working on the client's project needs, and there is not a lot of economies of scale and getting clients into a flow state where you have a process and you can get everybody ramped up with the same process and be pitching clients with the same niche and the same editors and start to get some, flow state in your business. The reason this happens is, when you're really great at project-based work, especially when they are long-term initiatives. So think something where there is, some initiative that's being put in place for awareness for like a government agency, and they have an allocated budget for a certain period of time, and they have a start and an end date. And sometimes it's a long runway. It could be a nice, 6-12-month chunk of a project. But when you are working in this model, you are familiar with projects as they come in and executing what the client asks on their timeline with their process, essentially. The problem is this trade-off is really high. There's this, like I said, client concentration and a lot less flexibility. So even little small opportunities like a project that could require a 2 to 3 month PR push, that's going to require a custom scoping approach. And every single time you're putting together a proposal, it's almost like starting from scratch. And this ends up draining you, your team's capacity. This agency owner shared with me that she and her partner are always the ones leading projects because clients want that consistency when the stakes are high. So if it's a concentrated project, a limited period of time, they want you to personally oversee it. You can't essentially bring a client up to speed with a team member that can serve as their account lead because they want you. They're limited projects and they want the big boss to be the one to run it and make sure that there's no room for error. And the problem is this model, it doesn't scale easily and it's really exhausting. This should not be your only income source. We're going to talk about why this matters and what you should do instead. Your opportunity for growth in your agency is not necessarily in landing more clients. It is growing by shifting how you work with your current clients. That's a huge opportunity. We love taking the clients we have, finding new ways to serve them, being able to support them on an ongoing basis, no matter what they have in the works. It shouldn't just be projects based on big events, big opportunities. That's a real challenge with forecasting your revenue and looking at predictable, ongoing, retainer revenue. And so we talked about how you can start to implement a retainer model, what goes into it. And I thought it was really obvious and kind of a given, but I actually just got a message in my Slack channel from a brand new member of our Pitch Lab community. And shout out to Kylie. Hi, Jen. I'm so excited to be here and join the Pitch Lab community. I'm not trying to fluff myself up, but this is what she said. Your content is spectacular. I stumbled upon your YouTube content when a client asked if I could work on a retainer. As a newer freelance PR pro, I didn't even know what that meant. As I consumed your content, I was able to understand what services to offer in a retainer, how to price myself, and then, how to master the discovery call, deliver a proposal. And then she said, just this week, I converted my first hourly client to a retainer client. Thanks to your amazing content and guidance, ready to dive in. Really awesome. Thank you, Kylie, for that really wonderful feedback. But it just made me, we had this podcast already planned based on a discussion I had with somebody who was really only working on a project basis and didn't understand how to implement the retainer model. And then we heard from Kylie that she didn't know what the retainer model entailed because she's only working on an hourly basis. Full stop, no hourly basis, absolutely not. And I usually say no projects. However, with this PR pro that I spoke to, she has big projects. They're big budget, great companies, really aligned with her niche, but it ended up taking a toll because of scoping and always being the one to have to be the lead. So we have to have a new perspective on this. She was having to turn down work for smaller clients that don't have these bigger project budgets. And I know a lot of people worry about the retainer model not being accessible to smaller clients, only available to bigger clients with bigger budgets. And that's the wrong way to look at this. Or, if a client comes to you and they just have a launch or they just have some initiative that they're looking to have your little quick shot in the arm. I just had an email inquiry for new business that was literally the business saying, we just want a 2-month campaign. And I'm not even interested enough to get on the phone and explain to them why that's going to get them nowhere. And please don't ever just take a little 2-3 month, I hate when people say shot in the arm, like a launch, like a 3-month launch. There are so many problems with projects, scope creep, being the biggest one that I just want you to avoid altogether. But shift your perspective. And when you talk to prospective clients or existing clients and you're trying to convert them to a retainer approach, maybe when a project ends and you're going to roll them into an ongoing support, package, that's what retainers allow you to do. They are there for ongoing impact. You don't always need a launch to justify having a PR agency or having a PR media outreach approach. You need visibility always. It doesn't matter if there's a launch or not. And that's our job as PR professionals, is to come up with the ideas, the pitch angles, what's evergreen, seasonal, timely, relevant ideas to work your clients into the media, even if they don't have something new and newsworthy in the moment. It's up to us to come up with that. The reason that this matters is, you're building momentum. We always say this. We're reaching out to the media. A lot of times, the first, second, third time we pitch, we don't get anything. It's usually in the follow-up. I've talked about that a million times. But if you are stopping and starting, you're waiting for a new grant or some kind of major campaign or launch or news in order to reach out, you're missing those opportunities for the seeds that you've already planted. You're stopping the momentum. You are starting to create some interest and, awareness, and your contacts and be like, oh yeah, I remember she reached out about that before. Oh, this is interesting. And then they don't hear from you because there's no project in the works. You're getting left out of the conversation. What a retainer allows you to do for your clients is maintain visibility. It can allow you to help them build authority and gets you as part of their ongoing promotional strategy so that you can support them year round, no matter what they have going on or not. It's up to us to come up with those newsworthy new ideas to get them in the conversation. The benefit to us is it will protect your agency from this constant client turnover, constant sales cycle where you are ending projects and looking for your very next project. Retainers will allow you to create consistent and predictable revenue. What we love and what we recommended to this member of our community who is looking to kind of get off that hamster wheel of projects was to start pitching retainers as an ongoing support when big projects are wrapping up. You've already earned their trust. They already know what it's like to work with you. So rather than saying, bye, great client who we just did a great job for, see you the next time you have something in the works, we're going to just stop all this momentum. We're going to leave any open opportunities to dangle in the breeze unresponded to, or worse than that, convert them without getting paid. So your project ended, you created all these new leads and editors are getting back to you and they're like, oh, this is interesting. And you have to be like, womp, womp, we don't work with them at the moment, sorry. Or you want to help your media contacts. So now you're kind of working for free and you're converting these leads that you created when you were working on a project, but you're not getting paid on the project anymore and you don't want to let the lead die. So you start doing the work for free. Retainers prevent that from happening. You want to keep that momentum going. And that's where this ongoing PR and comms support after a project ends for an existing client is a great solution for everyone. So when you build these retainer pathways from projects, I want you to plant the seed early that there is an option for ongoing support. Don't wait until the very end of a project, and get that discussion going and use that to create a seamless transition. And it'll also make retainers feel like a natural next step, not a new sale. So we always say it's a lot easier to service and retain existing clients than it is to constantly be looking for new clients. This is where you're able to convert project-based clients into retainer clients. Plant that seed early before the project ends. Talk about the option for ongoing support. And like I said, and I'm going to repeat it again because some people still don't listen to me. Just listen to me. Trust me on this one. This will change your life if you are working hourly. Do not charge for hours. When you build out your retainers, you are not giving them a bundle of hours, okay? We're not lawyers. When I pay my lawyer on retainer, I know that they're going to use hours and then take it out of the retainer. That's not what we're doing here. We're instead pricing based on value, based on access to your contacts, your expertise, the strategy that you're going to develop for them, constantly pitching the media in order to keep them top of mind. You need to shift that mindset away from dollars for hours because you're not going to get any more hours in the day. So if you want to make more money, it means you have to work more, and that resource is limited. And the better we get at what we do, the faster we do it. So you're actually kind of losing money as you get more advanced in your expertise and build deeper, richer media contacts because you can get results faster. So that means you should make less money? Absolutely not. No. So you need to protect your profit margins and avoid being penalized for working efficiently, like landing a top tier placement in a single call, right? Like when I got 2 clients on Ellen in one episode, it was like a Mother's Day episode on the Ellen show. I mean, obviously many, many years ago. I think at this point I just found out I was pregnant with my son, who's 13 now, my younger son. So almost 14 years ago, right? Literally, that was like 2 phone calls because I had worked for years to cultivate those relationships. So I'm going to get these phenomenal televised top tier media opportunities for clients that only took me an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours max, and really only, charge them based on the amount of time it took me. No, that doesn't make any sense. It's all about the value that you provide. And that's how you price out your retainers. And I know a lot of people they have a really hard time wrapping their head around what is included in the retainer because they think a client wants them to list out, 3 press releases per month or 10 press hits. I mean, we can't guarantee any of that. And any agency that does pay to play, which is coming, I'm seeing actually, let me know, you guys, are you seeing more of the pay to play nonsense or less? I used to see tons of emails come my way for these, only pay when we get results, which is literally these agencies that are buying space in a publication and then they are like wholesaling it, buying it wholesale and then selling it off retail. And it's not a real earned media opportunity. It is, or they're like NBC and you look and it's like out of India and it's like, that's not NBC. That is some like janky website that doesn't have any value, any traffic. It's not worth anything. I'm not seeing that as much as I used to. I used to get maybe once a day, like, hey, you need to establish authority. Don't use a PR firm. And I'm like, we are a PR firm. Like, do your research. Do not outline in your retainer agreement all of the specific deliverables they could expect every single month. It is not a checklist. You want to outline the kind of support, the kinds of services that you are offering, media relations, strategic proactive pitching, influencer seeding, celebrity seeding, affiliate integrations with pitch angles, basically like performance PR. You're not saying we will deliver this many articles, this many links, we're not an SEO firm. Earned media is a lot of times out of our hands. And so you can't guarantee it. That's a standard in our industry. Results are not guaranteed and we are not paid based on results. We're paid based on the value that we provide, the ongoing support. And listen, if you're great at what you do, you will have clients coming back month after month, contract term renewing over and over again because you're providing value. If you are not providing value, then you are back to the drawing board with trying to continually sell new business, trying to look for, it's almost like being on a 6-month project if you're not delivering, but I digress. So what you need to do in your retainer is you have these clients, you've worked on a project, they trust your judgment. You want to maintain flexibility in the way that you're working, how you're supporting them. Sometimes it's going to be for a launch. Sometimes it's going to be for thought leadership for the founder. These are tactics, right? You want to avoid wasting effort on tactics that aren't aligned with their goals. So if you just list out a bunch of stuff like press releases, 3 press releases, what are you even announcing in a press release? Not everything is worthy of a press release. Press releases don't do anything. We know that, but clients will call you and say, we need press releases. Are you going to put in a contract that you're going to deliver a certain number of press releases when that doesn't even align with any, that is not a tactic that is going to allow them to achieve their goals and objectives. It just doesn't make sense. So retainers are there to give you a continued path with a client after a project ends so that you're not waiting for them to come back with the next project. You're getting them consistent visibility, keeping them fresh in the eyes of the media. Long-term projects, if you solely rely on that, it will limit your growth and it will cause you burnout and it'll cause your team burnout. It is not a way to scale a business and create a business that will give you any kind of freedom and flexibility. It's like full on, all hands on deck for a condensed period of time, tons of scope creep, working on a client's timeline and not your own. Every time you're scoping the work, you're reinventing the wheel. It's exhausting. Retainers will provide consistent revenue, provide ongoing value to your clients, give you and your team more flexibility. And for the love of, don't lock yourself into any rigid deliverables, because that's not how we work. That's just not how results get generated. That's not how high value, strategic, targeted, needle moving press works. So if this sparked something for you and you need help, you want to figure out how to implement a retainer model that actually works, then I want you to check out the Agency Accelerator. This program is seriously awesome. Imagine a business in a box from start to scale, launch, grow, scale. We have everything you could possibly need. Like Kylie just said in her comment, figuring out what to say on sales calls, how to close new clients, what to include in your retainers. How do you set your revenue goals and actually achieve them? How do you hire a team and scale your agency? Every single checklist, tip sheet, template, like a retainer agreement. If you're wondering what a retainer agreement actually looks like, what it includes and what it doesn't include, that's in there for you. You can make it your own and look super professional, super buttoned up. That's what we have for you. It's like the way to fast track your results. That's the Agency Accelerator. You will learn how to price strategically, how to protect your time. Like me, Kylie, who I mentioned earlier, is a mom to 2 young kids. Mine are not young. Oh my God, you guys. I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, my 2 sons. And when they talk, I am like shocked at how deep their voices are. I just cannot wrap my head around it. I will hear them talking in the house and I feel like there are strange men in the house. I'm just like, who is this voice? Like, these deep voices out of nowhere. My kids are so cool. I love like watching the young men that they're growing into, but it's like creepy because in my mind, there's still these, they still call me mommy. It's so cute. I'll never like not love that. And I'm just hoping they'll keep calling me mommy. It just feels like, still like loving and not like, teenage. They're definitely like that too, but it's just crazy. There's like these men in the house. It's wild. And they're on their devices right now playing some kind of game with their friends and like they're yelling and it's like deep, manly voices. Crazy. Flies by. It's insane. So you were going to learn in the Agency Accelerator strategic pricing, how to build a business that will protect your time so you can be with your family and not miss any of these important milestones, and then how you can scale your business with confidence so you're taking yourself out of the day-to-day execution and building a business that doesn't run you. So if you've built a business on projects, you already have something incredible. I am sure you have phenomenal relationships with your clients. Retainers can help you make it more sustainable, more scalable, and really like a more enjoyable business to be working in. Think about before your projects end, starting to plant the seed to convert those project-based clients who love you and trust you and see how great you are. Offer them ongoing support through a retainer model. If you're doing hourly work, no more. Don't do it. Like that's got to stop immediately. Pivot your retainers over to value-based pricing. That's what I have for you this week. I want you to go out there and crush it. I'm going to be here crushing it too while my kids are home for summer and they sound like grown men walking around the house screaming about Fortnite or whatever they're playing. So we'll all be crushing it this week and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for being here. Have a good one. Bye.